What are your plans for the summer? This is a loaded question for most college students. Internship applications, networking, job searches. There's a lot of pressure to show that you're thriving. This past spring, when a friend asked me that question, I took a deep breath. I said, this summer, I'll be in the hospital, having someone drill into my skull. I wasn't waiting to hear back about internship applications. I knew exactly what my plans were. 3 days after my last final, I was going into the OR for brain surgery. Just a couple of months earlier, I'd gone to the optometrist to get fitted for contact lenses when abnormal swelling in the back of my eye led to a precautionary MRI. On December 29th, I was sitting alone in my dorm room, back on campus early for winter swim training, and I got an email letting me know that the report was in. At the time, I wasn't even nervous, because the idea of anything being wrong was so completely out of the question. I was enjoying my third year of college. I was swimming every day. I felt great. So I casually opened the report. And then came the punchline. Very large mass. Soon, I was on a call with a neurosurgeon, looking at an image of my brain for the first time. The doctor told me that he had never seen a tumor this large in someone with no symptoms at all. And I later found out that the number of people living with this kind of significant non-malignant brain tumor is 6 for every 100,000. What really scared me, though, was the uncertainty. My brain had spent years shifting around this thing, and it was impossible to know what would happen once it was out. Up until this point, I thought I'd been thriving at Amherst. Thriving to me was something you feel when things are going well, measured by accomplishments and lines on a resume. But going through 3 brain surgeries taught me that thriving isn't just a byproduct of success. It's an intentional daily choice that you can make even and especially when it's hard. It's about mindset, not milestones, and it comes down to 3 things. Focus on attitude and effort, lean on your team while also having the confidence to stand alone, and turn challenges into strength. My old swim coach used to tell me that the only 2 things you can control in swimming are your attitude and your effort. This spring, that advice came back to me, and I realized it doesn't just apply to sports. I talked to Connor, my coach here at Amherst, and we agreed. When it came to my diagnosis, I needed to focus on attitude and effort and let go of everything else. Instead of thinking about this scary big picture, I'd focus on the things I could control. Working hard in practice, enjoying the rest of my semester, and staying present while I could. Research backs this up. A Harvard study of over 15,000 participants found that what makes people happy has very little to do with what they're doing, and much more to do with whether they're fully present in the moment. It's not what you do, it's how you do it. This past spring, I focused all my effort on the things that I could control, my health and my happiness. I spoke to TJ, my team strength coach, and he told me that prepping for surgery would make all the difference to my recovery. The NIH has a word for this, prehabilitation, which prepares us to weather the storm of health challenges and recover better. By building your positive mindset and mental fortitude early, you prepare yourself for any kind of challenge that life throws at you. Thriving doesn't need to be about big victories. It's about focusing on what you can control. Even if the circumstances aren't perfect, and in fact, even if everything is going wrong, you can still stay grounded and find joy in little moments in order to thrive. In the hospital, for example, I made my bed every morning. I journaled every afternoon. And since I couldn't swim, the black line of the pool became the hospital hallway. I would walk circles around the ward every morning, joking with the nurses that I was just doing my morning laps. I learned how to thrive in small ways, even though the big picture was overwhelming. Surgery also taught me the importance of having a team. I'll never forget my freshman year of college. At my end-of-year championship meet, I had a horrible race, and my coach said to me, "I'm not disappointed in you, I'm disappointed for you, because I know how hard you've worked." I stood in the locker room afterwards, sobbing. I felt like I had put in so much, and it wasn't enough. And 2 of my teammates came together and sandwiched me in a huge hug. Having their support in that moment made all the difference. Surgery felt a little bit like that moment with swimming all over again. I had done everything right, and things were still going wrong. I remember one day in April, I was in the city getting a whole host of pre-surgical tests and scans done, and I found myself in a dark prep room before my last MRI, and I completely broke down. To paint you a picture of what it's like to get a brain MRI, imagine lying in a coffin, humming at full volume, with a cage locked around your head. On the bright side, you do get to request music. So I remember before my first MRI, I didn't really know what to ask for, so I just requested that the nurse play something distracting. She put on Metallica. So I didn't make that mistake again. This time around, when the nurse came in, instead of hiding my tears, I told her my fears. How the first time I got an MRI, it had been horrible news. She listened, handed me tissues, and this time around, I requested Elton John. That's when I realized that surgery is kind of like a team sport too. You can't get through it alone. When you reach out and are vulnerable, it gives others an opportunity to help. In order to thrive, you need to lean on others. Our support team is all around us. Right here at Amherst, for example, think of Renee, who works in the dining hall. Now, everyone on campus has probably been lifted by Renee's cheerful voice at one point or another. Well, I remember last spring, after I found out about my diagnosis, I was chatting with Renee one day, and the topic came up. And she told me that she had actually had multiple brain surgeries as a child, too. At that moment, a challenge in my life became an opportunity for connection. And after my surgery, Renee sent me a care package with a note. These are things that helped me during my recovery. I hope they can help you too. In the hospital, my team was my family. They helped me feel better every single day by making me smile and laugh. And one of my favorite memories is when one of them gave me my first pre-surgery get well present. A brain hat. Relying on your team is essential, but knowing how to stand alone is also important. In swimming, you're the only person in your own head staring down at the black line every day. Swimming taught me how to be alone, and surgery put that to the test. As much as I needed my team, during long nights alone in the hospital, I also had to learn how to lean on myself. Because even when no one else is there to lift you up, you always are. Social support isn't just a nice bonus, it's essential. People who feel supported are healthier, experience less pain and stress, and live longer. And there's a reason journaling and meditation work. They teach you how to be alone with your own thoughts. Regardless of how you do it, we all need to find ways to be alone, so that when it really matters, you know you have the strength to stand alone. Your support system comes both from others and from within. Thriving and struggling aren't opposites. Thriving is put to the test by challenges. Even though there are some obstacles in your life that you can't train for, with the right mindset, you can learn to not just persevere, but thrive amidst life's challenges. This is something that I didn't fully appreciate until a couple weeks after my first surgery. After my tumor was removed, I started having complications. The new empty hole in my brain was causing extra fluid to build up inside my skull. I had to go back in for more surgery. I spent 5 days walking around the hospital with tubes sticking out of my spine to drain my brain, and that didn't work. A second surgery didn't work either. The night before my third brain surgery, I couldn't fall asleep, so I stayed up all night journaling. I wrote, "When I wake up in the morning, even and especially if I feel horrible, I'm going to make my bed. I'm going to listen to my favorite music and joke with my parents. I have no reason not to smile." That night, it hit me. Surgery was making thriving hard, but that didn't mean it wasn't a choice that I could still make. Even if you have 100 reasons to cry, you can still always find at least one reason to smile. And if you can't do it for yourself, do it for the people around you. Challenges teach you that thriving isn't defined by circumstance. The next morning, I woke up in my hospital room, did my morning face routine, and I joked with my nurses. And when they asked if I would like to get rolled into the operating room on a bed or a wheelchair, I told them I would walk. And I asked them to play Elton John, too. In those challenging moments, only you can choose to thrive. Last April, I was on the train, riding back to school after a long day of doctor's appointments in the city, and I took a seat next to a man around my grandparents' age. We started talking, and after a while, he asked what brought me into the city, so I told him about my upcoming surgery. We ended up talking for hours, and when we said goodbye, he took my hands and said, "Stay positive. The sun will come up tomorrow." Flash forward to the day after my surgery. I remember waking up that first morning. I was in a dark hospital room. I felt the light slowly change around me, and I managed to look over my left shoulder. I saw the sunrise over the East River. It happens every single day, but for me, that morning, it felt particularly meaningful. And in that moment, I remembered the man on the train. We all have people in our lives that will help us not just survive challenges, but thrive through them. Pay attention to those meaningful conversations. Use them to thrive. Whether you're living your dream, staring at a hospital ceiling, or just getting through a Monday afternoon, remember that thriving isn't about where you are. It's not even about where you're going. It's about how you are. And that choice is always yours to make. Focus on attitude and effort. Lean on your team while also having the strength to stand alone. And turn challenges into strength. And if you're ever asked to share your story, and we all have one, share it. Thank you for letting me share mine.